Today, on This American Dice, Yugare discovers what actually spoke to him the night he stared down at a dead horse and heard a dark voice whispering on the wind. Aji's money issues, injuries, and dark temptations grow worse. Taiyo discovers something about the opium cartels, and Ishi figures out who murdered Horse the merchant. Find out what happens today on This American Dice.
I'm going to just go around the table and see what you guys want to do, and I'm going to give you a heads up that over the next...
None of you are going to be successful. Just to let you know.
You guys... I've talked about this a lot of times. You guys all have a lot of different pieces of this puzzle. The issue is you don't all have the same motivation, so it makes sense that you're not necessarily sharing it or 100% working together. We see the Edda coming to take the bodies away, and we see Kuni Renyu again, might be played by Daniel Day-Lewis. He's got that kind of messed up milky eye, the greasy white hair that's tied into a ponytail. He wears that leather clothing. It's not 100% armor. He probably has like a breastplate on, but then a lot of the rest of his clothing is armor. And like you had said, actually, Andrew, it probably would be the cultural equivalent of in our world if a person was like, "Yes, I have a dog skin coat," like, and you could just see the heads of like, these are dachshunds, and you'd be like, "That's very strange. You're a weirdo." Like, it's like that cultural equivalent of like, this is really dirty and gross. That
you have to cover your children's eyes.
So, but yeah, I think he is. He's talking to these. A couple of the soldiers who you had definitely seen with Ishi in the past. And they're all crab soldiers. He's kind of talking to them and giving them instructions about, like you need to go back to that village and talk to this person who said that they saw something suspicious the other day. And you need to go back to that sake house and make sure that this thing is watched out for. And you kind of approach him as he's doing this. Most people are giving these people a fairly wide berth of space. And like I said, the presence of the Thunder Guard at this was actually fairly minimal.
Okay. Well, I mean, I guess I didn't have to look very hard for him. It's right here. So I'll just go up and say... Like, I guess he doesn't necessarily know... Or no, I guess Ishi told him basically what happened at the cave, right? He got up to date on all that stuff.
And you've spoken with him briefly before.
Yeah, right after he pulled me out of a fire. Didn't even have a real introduction. So I'll probably lead with thanking him for pulling me out of that fire. I'm impressed by what you've been able to weed out. We've known of a darkness in the city, and it has not been we have been unable to accomplish what you have in your shorter time in pursuit of it.
I think the Ada had taken some of the corpses away, and I think he kind of hauls in some of that rope, which is kind of a gross thing, because this is just rope that was used to execute someone, and he kind of is like coiling around his arm, and then throws it into a cart with or like a trunk that's at the foot of this gallows, and he'll just say... He turns to you after he's thrown that in there, and he slams the lid of the trunk shut once that last piece of rope is in there. And it sucks that this is starting right off the bat with this voice, but... And he says, "How long did you know about that?"
About the darkness in the city?
Yes.
Well, I first encountered it when I was relatively new here, and...
When did you arrive?
What? 7 months ago?
It's hard to pin down.
Yeah, I think we've established it's between 7 and 8 months ago.
When was the horse-adjacent demon? Is that
What called a horse?
Was that within the first month or so?
Probably. It was earlier.
It was earlier. I don't know if it was in the first month. Maybe though.
I don't know, but yeah, I'll tell him when. Like, didn't know what to expect from this city, and it's only been the accumulation of events that have led me to believe that there's a dark stem to all of it.
Do you tell him what happened?
I guess so.
What parts do you relate to him?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll tell him I got attacked by like a demon in the cave by like these moon cult people who seem to have summoned it. Although I guess that's not actually what happened. We're still not sure. And then I saw like a demon coming out of a horse asking for my blood.
And he says, he'll ask you for details about that. Just like, it came out of a horse? What do you mean it came out of a horse? And it wanted your blood?
Yes. It didn't... I don't think it ever actually said that, but I knew that's what it wanted. Yeah, as a player, I don't remember all the details, but
Yeah.
in character, I'll tell him like as much... Really, I don't think I have any secrets about that
And
incident.
he'll say, he like looks you up and down, kind of like sneeringly, and he just says, that wasn't a demon, that was a spirit. A Kansen. Kansen are the foul version of Kami. They're spirits from Jigoku itself that have come up from the pit. And they seek out blood to make them stronger. And they'll give people what they want in exchange for it. Tempting the weak, tempting the foolish.
Forgive my ignorance, but do you believe this could be related to the Moon Cult or other incidents of darkness?
Kuni Renyu has calls over to one of the soldiers, or no, to one of the, like a peasant, and they bring over a pony for him to for him to take, and he adjusts some of the things on the saddle. And he says, Kansen are present where there's suffering, where there's blood. They want more of the second, and they always bring more of the first with them. To make sure that they get both of those things, they're willing to give the foolish and the naive and the weak, the hungry, the envious. They're willing to give them some of what they want. What did it offer you?
I think it offered, like, the power to do my job better. Is that what it was? I don't remember.
Well,
Something like that.
And you didn't take it?
Ooh, this is kind of... Don't be shitty.
I believe in each man's path to enlightenment is through understanding himself, not by giving in to selfishness and the cravings of dark powers.
It's a pretty way to say no.
The spirit didn't appreciate it.
No, they don't. They look for those who are petty and vengeful, and they themselves are just that.
Well, I worry that there are plenty of such people to find around here.
Oh, indeed. No, a demon is something far darker and far more dangerous than a Kansen. Likely it only spoke to you because you are able to speak to the spirits.
I see. Well, there's still more... I fear there's still more darkness to uncover. As a magistrate, it's my job to try to keep the city safe, and to that end I've been searching. But as someone who has much to learn in the way of dark spirits and demons, do you have any guidance to offer?
He'll say, you were approached by a Kansen, by a spirit of Jigoku. It came to you, offering you power and answers in exchange for blood.
I offer you no blood. Just to be clear, in case you're about to ask for that too.
And he says, oh, this'll take blood.
Like I said, out on the table.
I think Yugare's been trying to avoid it this whole time, but when he says that, I can't help but like cringe a little bit at all of his leather. Like I look down at his clothes, like I've been trying to look him like in the eye and stay like.
Oh, and
the leather.
Well, and also he has that like creepy milky eye.
Yeah, I think I could deal with that better
Okay.
than the leather. But now when he says that, I kind of give him a once-over up and down.
Yeah.
And like cringe a little bit.
And he'll just say to you, you're an Emerald Magistrate. And you are wearing your badge after all, right?
Yeah.
And this guy already knows you. Knows you are. He had met you anyway. So he says, you're an Emerald Magistrate. You were approached by the spirit. These things come to suffering. These things come to a hunger. Rarely do they show up. Oh, he says, rarely do rats find their way into the cleanest of houses.
I don't know what you're implying.
Would you want to read him?
Yeah.
Go for it.
Reading is...
Sagacious.
Sagacious.
It's a 7 that you rolled.
+1.
+1, so 8.
Yeah.
So you have to ask one of those questions.
I guess what is... I guess how can I get your character to teach me what I need to know to find, like, to continue the investigation into darkness?
Ooh. I think you kind of look this guy over, and you kind of get this guy's whole vibe. This dude is completely focused around this. This guy is someone who hunts down those who deal with, like, the darkness, like, that deal with the taint, that deal with the Shadowlands and Jigoku and Fulang, he who must not be named. Like, that's his whole thing. He does not care at all about any of this other stuff. And essentially that's how he was able to get some of this done, was by focusing entirely on this one thing. And he got these troops he seemed to be commanding these troops to do that stuff. He could teach you much more of what you would need to know to do this, but you would have to kind of commit yourself to focusing entirely around this part of the fight.
Send him the letters.
Yeah.
He's 4 of us.
Doing a righteous job at it, can I just
Yeah, I think Yugare would do that. Okay, so I read him and I get that vibe from him, and I'm going to tell him, look, there are, as you said, I am an Emerald Magistrate. There are 3 others of us, each of us with his own skills. For me, I do not excel in the world of politics or martial combat or strategy, or I have to use my skills that I have honed, and these deal with the spirit world. And though I have little experience with dark forces, it is those that I need to learn about in order to use the powers of the kami and the will of the gods to root out. If I'm going to defend the city, it has to be according to my skill set. So, if you're willing to teach me, I can let the other magistrates handle the other areas while I learn to do the best job possible in this role.
Sounds like you're manipulating him.
Okay?
Go for it. Another
7.
7. All right.
That's one thing to just give concrete assurance.
So some kind of concrete assurance.
It's just so hard when all you're doing is talking.
Just rip out one of my eyes.
Here you go. This one. You wanted blood, right? It's everywhere now.
Yours is milky. Take mine.
He just throws up.
My cookie eye.
I mean, maybe there's something left to clean up here. Like, I could grab another length of rope or something, like one of these, like, dirty things, and, like, demonstrate that I can cross some of these lines. Yeah.
I think you have some bigger stuff that you could probably offer up, but I don't know if you remember it.
Oh, I'm sure I don't.
Here's the thing, Andrew. Here's the thing. That's a super dirty thing. You'd have to, like, roll a gross roll or something.
Probably would have to make a face roll for it, but
Write him a poem.
it works. I'm down for that, but if you can remember any of the bigger stuff, we could...
Like, offer information or an actual thing I would do?
Money?
Still money.
So if there's some information that you have that you think this guy might want, that might be, like, a way bigger, like, sell and might get us to, like, another cool scene. I have something else with this if you don't want to do that. And believe me, that what you're saying works.
Okay.
It's just if we have something else that you...
I don't remember. Maybe if I don't remember, you should remind me anyway? Okay, so...
That could only make sense.
It does. Was there any maybe supernatural stuff that you encountered that you haven't told him about?
There's, like, the Ishi thing in the house. But,
The butler ghost.
Okay.
but I don't think I would necessarily offer that up.
Was there anything else maybe connected to that?
I mean, like the fingers in the jar? I kind of wanted to tell him...
Well, you burned that place down,
Right.
so... Yeah.
Well, I did want to tell him all about that house, though, because I wanted his insights. But no, I don't remember any. Oh, I guess, like, the barge?
What happened when you guys burned the house down? Did you, like, have a thing?
Yeah, he pulled me out of the fire and was like, you should probably stay out of this.
Saw
And then he
a
left.
thing. I thought you, like, saw something about that happened.
I think I saw something. Like, just the darkness that Yugare gets.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's all right. We can maybe talk about it later.
All right.
But all right, so what is it that you do that shows this guy that you're essentially willing to get your hands dirty?
And I guess the Edda are getting the bodies.
Yeah, they already have the bodies kind of off of there.
I'm not
I
going to touch a
don't have to do
body.
that.
Here, my hands are... That's too much.
Oh, maybe those bodies can still be there and they're just ready to be carted off. If you want, it's up to you on this.
I'm not going to do anything that he's not
Going
right. Something that, like I can help him do a thing.
One was the email.
Yeah, like I was thinking that, like something, I don't know. I think the rope thing, maybe.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
So those bodies are still there, right?
Okay.
And let's say they're covered with like a tarp. But if you were to maybe check to see if those bodies are anybody who, now that you can get a closer look at them, who maybe you have seen before,
Okay.
especially given that you have dealt with this moon cult before.
That's a good idea.
Theoretically, this investigation, at least for these folks who've been executed, is done. They've already been executed. They're ready to be cremated.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll say, like, look, I need to know more about this stuff, and I'm willing to, buckle down and learn from someone who's able to teach me. And as I'm saying that, I'll, like, walk over and be, like, lifting up the tarps, like, looking at them.
Okay.
It's really
I'm willing to
gross.
do what I need to do, move to the next body, in order to find out, what I need to know, move to the next body.
But he lets you do that, and you kind of look over all these people. You do recognize at least one of them from that cave, for sure. And I think the sun is going down as this is happening. If I said in the last game that it was rising, then
We've been talking for a while.
sure, you guys, yeah. Well,
Just kidding.
maybe it took Builder that long to finish the thing, and the execution didn't happen till like almost dusk. Then I think Kuni Renyu, after you are finished doing that, he'll say, tomorrow morning, this intersection, the such and such house, and he'll describe it, the greenhouse.
A large city surrounded by green walls and acres of poppy fields. A group of monks traveled toward the city, exchanging prayers for whatever alms the poor peasants of the countryside can spare. In the noble quarter, we see a beautiful but imposing palace and a foreign-looking minareted estate. In the temple quarter, we see the glistening white temple of the sun goddess with its 60-foot pole topped by a shimmering golden spear, and the temple of the fortune of wealth with its towering statue of the patriot god of the city. Next door, in the merchant quarter, we see busy streets with noisy merchants selling wares from all over Rokugan and beyond. On the other side of the Bay of Drowned Honor, the fisherman's quarter, dirtier with poorer commoners, meaner gangs, and shabby dwellings amid the docks and warehouses. We pass the leather workers' quarter, the home of the Ada, the Untouchables, and the only building of notice there, the city crematorium. Finally, we arrive at Teardrop Island, the license quarter, with its perpetual twilight of hanging lanterns, fine sake and geisha houses. We follow a man in a basket hat as he's beckoned inside by a beautiful geisha. He enters and removes his hat. We see one of the monks from the beginning. Ryoko Owari, City of Lies.
I'm just going to tell you kind of the mood of the city over these couple of days as we go through this. And so we can say this is another 3 or 4 days. After Kimmy was returned to the Shosuros, to her family, there was this kind of tense peace that was going on in the city. From everybody's perspective, there were all these Bayushi that were in the city. There were a lot more Thunder Guard that were present in the city than had been over the previous couple weeks. But things had been kind of peaceful. There hadn't been any significant problems. Things were kind of moving along for 2 or 3 days. In these next 3 or 4 days, that has kind of not collapsed, but it's teetering on a bigger problem. All right. And so if you guys want to include aspects of that in your scene when we're dealing with stuff, definitely let me know. So for instance, an easy one would be there are fights between some of the Bayushi retainers and some of the Thunder Guard. It doesn't necessarily lead to arrests because it's the kind of thing that nobody wants to 100% push completely. But some of these Bayushi retainers, when they go out kind of on their off time, and there are Thunder Guard on their off time, a barroom fight starts. And then people kind of go their separate ways rather than push this issue to any kind of legal conclusion for fear that would be way too big of a thing. So if you guys have any other ideas that you want to go around with this kind of tension It doesn't have to be explicitly between the Shosuros and the Bayushis, but that's like an easy one that's there.
Well, I'd say probably you don't see like the Shosuro family or the Bayushi family like anywhere. Like the actual heads of family are only in their estates.
Okay, so Jocho and Hyobu and Kimi.
Yeah, I would say
go by and
just like it's just not too dangerous, but it's too much for them to like leave and show their faces in places.
All right. Okay, so even including like Otato, who previously had been almost this, I don't want to say socialite, but very involved in the social life of the city, is not out and about.
Yeah, not nearly as much. Like maybe they'll like go out, but it's very, very rare compared to what it used to be.
Okay. So you don't see those big name characters out on the streets.
I think Yugare's family has like outings, like go for a walk. Sometimes Yugare can't make it, with work stuff, but Misaki will walk the kids around through the garden or something, and it's like, no, for the past few days, it's like, we're going to skip the daily garden walk and stay at home.
Okay, so, and do you think that's a common thing among a lot of nobles, that they stay inside, they stay in their estates?
Especially, fighting skilled samurai.
Okay, so for the most part, the only people it becomes a lot less common to see bushi
samurai
out in the streets.
Swords or weapons on them aren't seen.
Okay, so pretty much everybody on the street is a person carrying a sword.
It's Texas now.
The Teardrop Island, it was the House of Foreign Stories, which is gutted, basically.
Yeah.
And then the other one is the House of the
Morning Sun. Yeah.
And that's owned by the governor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe on Teardrop Island, or the sword polisher, like the boat that goes to it, there's all these Korchika or Bayushi soldiers there all the time now. They're just, 5 or 6. They're on either side of it at any given point. Anyone who makes the trip to Teardrop Island, because it's theoretically just going to be to the Morning Sun place.
There's lots of other sake houses and geisha houses out there as well, but
those are just the important ones that we care about.
Well, never mind. I was thinking they would be like, oh, I can still pull this out. I can still make this work. They're like, oh, are you going to the House of the Morning Sun? Or is that it? Morning Sun?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The Morning Sun. And they make sure to be like, oh, okay, great. We'll make sure to remember you. I hope you have a good time. Just to intimidate people not to go there.
Okay, I can see that. So they're pushing people not to go to various Shosuro, kind of intimidating folks, to not patronize.
And maybe that's another reason why nobles aren't really leaving.
Okay.
Oh, well. Now we're going to get judged by going to our fun places.
Gotcha. Any other ideas? Toan, anything? Any thoughts?
I had an idea, but then it kind of goes against what DJ said. I was going to say, I noticed some sake houses are more busier than normal. They're too busy to Aji's liking.
Ooh, can I throw an idea out there to kind of hit on that?
Yes.
There are a lot more people a lot of sake houses in the merchant quarter and the fisherman quarter in particular are maybe busier because it's just tougher to get opium. And so people who maybe in the past would have gotten high, even though this isn't 100% how addiction works, I don't think, but I've never been addicted to opium personally. Professionally, yes. No, but it's the, maybe there are people who, if that had been a thing they would indulge in, now they just get hammered. And so it's it's tough to get opium, and it's leading to more issues with people drinking a ton, and then there being issues in sake houses, or that's just them being kind of slammed full of people. Who has an idea for our next scene?
I don't know if it's a whole scene, but I want to tell at least Ishi about something.
All right. So,
okay, yeah.
So you guys want to meet up?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
So it could be in the earlier part of these 3 or 4 days. And you guys meet up. Where do you think you meet up?
I mean, next to that dead tree seems our meeting place.
Sure.
Okay. Just in the garden at the magistrate's residence?
The super dead tree.
Well, it's not dead. It's just the the blooms that had stayed on weirdly long suddenly all fell off.
Yeah, dead. We're just going to go with that.
Sure.
We've only called it the dead tree for like 4 sessions. I think it's too late for that to
From
be
a
alive
Florida
anymore.
perspective, that tree is 100% dead.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
absolutely.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I mostly want to fill Ishi in on that horse thing that happened.
The thing with Horse the Merchant?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That she's dead.
Yeah.
And all the horses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Taiyo might say, Bayushi came to me to see about it, and I got Yugare to see if the kami could help out. We did. It occurred to one or both of us, I kind of forget, that the only other person that would have motive to do this, because it seems unlikely that the governor would do something, especially after the Kimi situation, would be the Shinjo family, since Horse used to work for them. And it turns out we found out that the merchant horse was breeding ponies with unicorn horses to make a faster stock, apparently.
I thought the Shinjo left town. Am I misremembering? I thought most of them had run off.
Are you thinking of the Soshi, the scorpion family?
Yeah, this is the unicorn, the theoretic.
Every time I'm totally wrong. All right,
Yeah, the official leaders of the unicorn in the city.
So not Ide, not the Ide family.
Yeah, who are the technical. But it seems you have the most inroads with the Ide, at least. Which I may or may not pronounce right. But, yeah, the other family.
Yeah.
So maybe you could investigate that more, since I don't have any relationship with any of that clan.
Sure. No, I'll take a look into it. Is this? Nah, I won't. Yeah, I will. Is this magistrate business, or is this just for the family?
Yeah, it's part of the investigation.
About the open case investigation is for?
The opium, I guess the larger problems with these rival families. I really don't want the governor to be responsible for this, and I'm hoping if we look at every other possibility that I can assure Korchika that it's not that.
Okay, I'll.
This week-long piece has been pretty good. I don't want it to end so soon.
Yes, that is something that we need to uphold. So I will. I don't know anybody from the family, but I will try to get in contact with them through the Ide family.
Oh, I might do this. I'll say, just dramatically, like looking. Oh, I had heard rumors that one of Aji's mistresses frequented their establishment in the Teardrop Island, but I don't know if he direct relationship.
What did they on the foreign stories?
Yeah, I don't know if he can be
That's interesting.
be of any assistance. He at least has that tenuous connection.
Perhaps I'll look into that. Yeah. Okay.
I mostly wanted to do that and make that magistrate roll.
Sure, go for it.
See if I can fail a third.
What'd you get?
A 9, so close.
Wow.
So I've uncovered corruption. Report it for 1 favor, or hide it for 1 wealth, or 1 blackmail. Do we have?
Say that again.
So I've uncovered some corruption. Report it for 1 favor, or hide it for a wealth or a blackmail.
All right.
Do I get to know what the corruption, or is it ambiguous?
You should make it super low.
Sure. I mean, you already probably know about some. You can just kind of finagle it into being a mechanical thing more directly.
Yeah, or do you want to? I guess it depends on maybe what clan or who is seen as corrupt.
I mean, it would be pretty easy for you to figure out some. It'd be pretty easy for you to figure out some corruption regarding Yogo Asako.
Okay.
That would be pretty easy.
I feel
That would narratively make sense.
Yeah, and she is my
That's
BFF. So I think I'm hiding it for money.
Okay. Cool.
That only sounds like a tie-in of
Ooh.
hiding corruption.
Well,
harsh of me. I accept that I was there.
Ooh, actually, let me
apologize.
let me throw this out. So, what if you? Oh yeah. So the easy one that you probably already knew, but we could just turn it into a mechanical thing. Like I said, is she was trying to. Oh, Yogo Asako was trying to make sure that Lean Meat didn't testify and that Lean Meat wasn't tortured, because Lean Meat hired Jaw to kill. Bad precedent. The Lean Meat hired Jaw to kill Ogai, and Jaw had been hired by Subtle to kill Watchful.
What?
So,
Wait, this is all stuff we knew, right?
you knew all this stuff, but this was her motivation for why she did it.
Oh,
so
okay.
she didn't care about Lean Meat and Ogai. She would be absolutely fine to let Lean Meat get executed for that
Just 'cause
stuff.
it was related to Watchful.
The issue was, since he also used Jaw, what if Jaw spilled the beans on the job with Watchful? And that's what she wanted to keep quiet. And you were able to figure it out. Ishi and Yugare were able to... So, Taiyo, you were able to figure it out. Ishi and Yugare were able to get some hints about what was going on.
I remember during the interrogation of the man, did it come to light that he killed Watchful or no?
No. And that was in the end the big way she was able to kind of keep some wraps on that was basically to get the Ada to orient the torture to not be about that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. And just so since you guys didn't ask real directly about that stuff, I think narratively what happened was she was like, these are the only topics you question this person about.
That works. So yeah, since we're BFFs, I'm just gonna take money instead.
Okay. There we go.
But yeah, I would go talk to Aji about House of Foreign Stories.
Okay.
Don't you know something?
You told me about Magda, but I don't know if you knew anything about the patrons. I don't know if you met them or not.
Oh,
Talk to them at all.
okay. Then you don't know that.
I don't know that. But
You know about my side chick.
I know about Magda. That's cool. I don't care.
Okay.
I just need to find out about who you know in that family. And, if you know them at all. So there you go. Do you know... what was the name of the family? Not Shishiro.
Shinjo?
Shinjo.
This S word was Shinjo.
Shinjo.
Dun, dun, dun.
I know guy in the right.
This boy?
All right. So you guys are going to meet up to have this conversation.
To talk about this.
So is Aji just convalescing in his quarters?
Are you at a bar?
Where do we find Aji? Because Aji's still pretty beat up.
That is true.
And pretty beat up is an understatement.
You're real fun.
You could probably find me at the Civic Hall, probably doing just paperwork.
Okay, so Aji's just meeting with merchants and other folks who are looking for, and samurai who are looking for travel papers.
Yeah, I'm benched for a little bit.
It's alright to be benched, but so what do you know of this man, this Shinjo Shinafusa? Did you have many dealings with him? Taiyo is concerned that he may have killed a merchant. He may have had somebody kill a merchant and not raise their property, but pretty much set their...
Killed a merchant?
Yeah, a merchant by the name of Horse, I believe.
A horse.
I don't know if I said it a minute ago, but also I meant to say how they released the horses and stuff too.
How they released the horses? They just undid their latches, right?
Yeah, so just the horses were kind of scattered.
Yeah.
I thought I said that. I was just trying to come up with different words for it, and I couldn't
Gotcha.
figure out anything.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I actually told you that.
I assumed you did.
Good.
But anyway.
So you relay all that?
Yeah, relay. Yeah. He's wanted for questioning the murder of Forrest. And I didn't know if you knew him.
Who was the patron of horse?
I believe it was, I said Bayushi particularly.
Oh, right, yeah.
Interesting. Well,
I believe
that makes sense to me, if you're interested, because, the House of Foreign Stories was raided, which is owned by the Shinjo.
Oh, really?
And then when I came over to investigate a murder of, when they got raided, Sanafusa was there, and he was angry, and he was ranting about the Bayushi family. Still blames them for Otato stealing the horse, them taking the merchant horse, the merchant named horse.
Unfortunate name.
Yeah, worst name.
God.
Yeah, and I even went over to the Korichika residence.
And they were just...
They're he didn't really care at all, actually. But I just know that Sanafusa did blame Bayushi Korichika's family for a lot of his misfortune.
He was looking more and more certain that this is the man behind the murder.
Yeah, it makes sense. The horses were just released.
Yeah.
Because they're worth money. Who would just...
That is true. Who would just let money run out the stable? So I will I think I'm probably just going to go talk to him alone now.
All right.
So.
One thing is that when we see Aji looks, he not only looks very, very beat up, which he is, he's like got bandages. I think you probably have to walk, like I said, maybe with a crutch, just because a lot of your stomach is kind of bandaged up. As a narrative crutch, one of the things is that Aji looks really haggard, which somewhat makes sense given this situation. Aji, if you looked at yourself, you would know that you look really bad, not only because you have been run through with a sword, but also because you have not gotten a full night's sleep or anything amounting to good rest since that night. So every night has been plagued by all kinds of nightmares that keep you up and make you wake up regularly.
Since the duel?
Mm-hmm. So I think we kind of just have a shot of Aji's face, and he just looks really, like, worse than he looked when he went to see the Priestess Mayo. Then we'll hop over to Taiyo, actually. See what Taiyo wants to do.
My next plan was to try to meet the governor.
I think you can probably get that. Get a meeting with her.
Sure.
And so I think it's kind of the usual thing where you're kind of kept waiting for a while. You're served tea or sake as they're kind of getting ready for you, and you're brought into that meeting hall where you've met her regularly. She's there. She has some bodyguards. I think Jocho is not there, but she'll kind of welcome you in and say, Taiyo-san, how are you on this day?
I'm doing all right. Hope you're doing well too.
She says, "Thank you for your concern. It's a fine day."
I was hoping to talk about like how's your business dealings going?
And she says, "As you know, business has suffered. There have been fires. There have been fires outside the city. There have been attacks. There have been fires outside of the city. There were some problems earlier in the month, but these are all things that you've heard about. They're all old news."
Well, there's a bit of new news too. I heard of Korchika's merchants was killed recently.
She says, "Well, that's a pity, but yeah, some of the merchants have engaged in some rather shady business dealings, and every now and again, common criminals and merchants end up running into one another. It's a shame."
I think you know how this is going to look to Korchika.
She'll say, "I can't. If any resident of this city is going to be unreasonable in how they'll view things, attempting to reason with them is somewhat of a lost cause."
I don't think it's a lost cause. There's one less member, but I can still act as an intermediary if you want to make sure that this doesn't escalate. Maybe it'd be good. I mean, if you I'm sure you had nothing to do with that, right?
And she'll say, I think she just waits for you to clarify what you mean.
I'm sure you had nothing to do with the merchant's death. I think Taiyo will be that bold.
She'll say, "Do you think I would bother to kill a stable keeper?"
The motive is there. I'm just hoping that that's not the case. Is it?
And she's quiet for a while and say, "I think you misunderstand my motives."
That's entirely possible. What could I be enlightened?
And she says, "I've made it abundantly clear to all of the Emerald Magistrates, and I felt to you most in particular, the thing that I value is the order of this city. Why would violating a tentative..." I'm sorry, she wouldn't say it like that. She would say, given your knowledge of how this city ran, why would upsetting that ever be in my interest?"
That's exactly what I thought. From a business perspective, it makes sense, but I was hoping I could get assurance that wasn't you. It doesn't make sense based on just what you said. The overarching interests of the city.
Months ago, you were here at a meeting with myself, Korachika-san, and Soshi Serioku, wherever she's gone. And I made it, she says, and I brought up something that still, to this day, is true, and has been true for generations since the unicorn returned to Rokugan. The families that grow the legal opium of the Empire do not in any way compete with one another. We've agreed to divide up the territory, sell what our merchant, and have our merchants sell in those areas. Our merchants have become very wealthful and very prosperous, and that has been a blessing to us, a blessing to the Empire, as shown in the medicine that's brought all over Rokugan, and in the taxes that go to the Imperial coffers. Upsetting that balance would not only be a disservice to myself and my own family, to my own clan, which has been tasked with raising up the legal opium of the Empire, but a disservice to the Empire, as those who are sick are in need of this medicine. Did you read her?
Hoping I triggered that.
Go for it. Yeah.
On 12.
Not bad, but
What'd you roll?
An 8.
an 8.
That
You
sucks.
roll. Oh my god, you rolled that plus 3. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess, is she telling the truth?
No. Nope. So,
Every time.
yeah.
Every time you get kidded by that.
So I think the part where she has basically said everything. She has basically tried to couch this lie in something that makes logical sense.
Mm-hmm.
I have become astronomically wealthy. All of us were doing really well. If we set up these cartels, where we basically almost imagine like a price fixing cartel, we have our stuff. We don't have to compete with one another.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's definitely been fucking with that.
Right. Yeah, so...
Pressure. We both know that's not
Well,
true,
that-
but
Yeah, I mean, that makes... or what, like a mathematician, they have those at this point, I think,
Sure.
could figure out that logic, but still, in the months I've been here, things have gone further and further astride of that balance that was created. One of the three families has been ousted through violence, and now it seems Korchika is being driven by someone to act out as well. I think the fortunes that the Shosoro, which is you, family is seems above the surface of the water so far, but I wonder how long that can last if you don't let me help you.
She says, "Your assistance in all of this is appreciated. I have no intention and no desire to interfere in Bayushi Korchika's business affairs. I will say that his some of his actions have been disturbing in the past, but given the agreement that he and I had made, I have done my best to uphold that agreement to make sure each of us can go about our business properly."
I fear that might not be enough. Just I'll be samurai dramatic and just like, I'm begging you, please just let me set up a private meeting between you two. I'll ensure that this can be settled. But I think at this point it has to be face to face. I can only convince him so much without hearing the truth from your mouth.
so good.
I know you're definitely manipulating her for sure, so go ahead and make that roll.
All right.
Manipulator, but some weird plans.
10.
Pretty good.
Could have been a 12. This would be the best friend forever.
So, Shosuro Hayobu, the governor, takes a long pause and says, I'm willing to meet with your cousin if it means that we can continue to secure the order of this city and the prosperity of our clan and, of course, the empire. She will say, as I said, there is no reason for us to compete with one another. We're not. She'll say we're not.
Enemies?
I was trying to come up with an analogy, but all the analogies, I'm like, would she bring that up? It might bring up other bad things about the cities, and she'll just say we're not enemies.
Mm-hmm. I was hoping you'd say that. I'll talk with Korchika and try and set up a meeting as soon as I can.
She kind of nods. I think that's where we end that scene. Go for it.
Maybe there's like a pregnant pause as Taiyo looks at her and looks for any weaknesses that she has from this move that I forgot I had.
Sure. What do you have to do for that move?
Observe a character and learn their weaknesses.
Sure. That's fairly indescript. Go for it.
Sure is. I'm rolling with sagacious.
Pretty good.
I couldn't have done that last time. Well, I basically get stuff on them, some secret blackmail.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I basically just get a blackmail.
Let me just give you a piece of information that is the blackmail.
Yeah.
Because you obviously know the biggest piece of blackmail, which is she's involved in the opium cartel.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's the biggest thing. Like, all of it is like, this one drug dealer stole this other drug dealer's drugs. Like, well, the big issue is that they're a drug dealer. Like, that's probably the biggest thing.
Yeah, but this is the biggest issue, too.
So,
who cares about that?
That's true. I think as you speak to her and as you hear her, you listen, you think back to the way she had mentioned things to everyone, and the way she had spoken to Soshi Serioku. She was messing with the stuff, but she was infringing on Serioku's territory. Mm-hmm. She was eating into her territory, not Korochika's. So when you remember back to that conversation about the Mantis clan, and how, like, she kind of fought to make sure that she continued to have the Mantis clan, even though Korochika's like, well, don't I have all the minor clans? Wouldn't the Mantis clan fall under that? And she's like, well, no, we've had them for so many years. And you think to yourself, given the... And of course, I don't have a map of Rokugan. But given the setup of the Empire, if you're bringing opium down this river to the Mantis, why couldn't you just go up here to the Phoenix and sell a bunch of opium there? And you remember Serioku saying, they're not buying any.
Oh, because they already
bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not buying it. They weren't buying any from her. So you learn that, getting a little bit more loose with these answers as we go here. You learn, she was interfering with this stuff, but not interfering on Korochika's stuff. She was specifically going into Soshi Serioku's territory. Aji, do you, right off the top of your head, have any specific game plan?
You want a general game plan? Which I have.
Where we would find Aji in the next scene when we come back.
Well, the priestess told him she would heal him, right? If Aji found what he wanted to do. Well, currently, Aji has decided to
kill her.
Try to restore the Crane clan honor that he's kind of destroyed a little by killing Michitaka. And he is going to seek out probably the only other Crane person in the city, Doji Tsukimura.
All right. So you go to meet with Doji Tsukimura, and we can kind of... we see you guys at Tsukimura's estate. Tsukimura is very wealthy. He has a house not anywhere as big as Bayushi Korochika's, but still pretty darn wealthy. It's also very classy, I feel. It's decorated in exactly the way you would expect, like a wealthy samurai to decorate their house, whereas where everything is made of essentially like the finest quality. And what do we see in his house or in wherever he's meeting with you that lets you know that this guy is like, even though he doesn't seem to be a warrior, how do we know that this guy is like almost the ideal of what you think, at least what you think a samurai would be, or at least a samurai of the Crane clan?
The ideal Crane clan warrior?
Or at least a samurai, yeah.
Samurai?
I don't know if this guy is specifically like a fighter, and I think he's also a little bit older.
Well, I can see that there's two stands, right, for swords next to each other. One is very, looks expensively decorated, like the scabbards are, expensively decorated. I can see, gold engravings. And the other one next to it seems more practical, tell it's been, well used.
Okay.
Properly, maintained. You can see, it's been kind of almost used every day.
All right. So, you can notice that there's something that gives it away that this thing is used. That even if this guy isn't a warrior that even then he still practices with a katana the way a samurai is supposed to, even if he's not like expected to go out there and fight?
Yeah.
Okay,
There
cool.
wouldn't be no reason to have two sword stands next to each other.
All right.
You just have one.
So he says, Aji-sama, so it's so wonderful to finally have you in my home. I appreciate you coming this way. I hope that we can make you as comfortable as possible.
Thanks. It's a tough walk to get here. I am not in so great of health these recent days. I need your help.
He says, oh, well, we are cousins. I'm sure I can perhaps assist you in something. But surely, what could you need? What could you need my assistance in?
Hida.
Thanksgiving is going to be weird.
Well, you can assist me by... I've lowered the honor of the Crane family here in the city, and I need to restore it, and I need your help and your guidance. I realize that I don't have many allies in the city, and I think I need all the help I can get.
And he says, well, we're of the same clan, and you are an Emerald Magistrate. I don't see why I wouldn't be. And he pauses and he says, whatever you could need help with, I'm sure I can assist you in some way or another. As I said, from my humble position here in the city.
And I asked him about, did you speak with Narutoki often?
He said, well, he was busy as the only magistrate in the city, but we spoke regularly. We'd gone hunting a few times, and we would periodically play Go. But we spoke, but his responsibilities kept us from becoming as close as I wish I had, especially now, given that he's gone.
And which responsibilities were you talking about, or referring to?
His duties as Emerald Magistrate, of course. He was well loved in the city by everyone, and he made his absence was disconcerting. But now that you and your colleagues have been given this position, it's certainly helped to assuage some of the fears that people had when we lost your dear departed cousin.
Well, Narutoki had a journal, and within that journal could harm his reputation. I need to find it. And to protect his honor, I've decided that it must be destroyed before anyone else can find it.
He's quiet for a moment and then says, he'll say, a man should be judged by his deeds. His inner thoughts put merely to paper are good poems.
But Yugare would disagree.
Yeah, but compared to the things that he did in life, they're of little value. I can completely agree with your proposed course of action, Aji-sama.
Well, good. So you'll assist me in this task?
I'll certainly, he'll say, I don't claim to be a magistrate as yourself, but with the few who I know, who I can trust, I'll test the waters as what would be an analogy that he would use for like the equivalent of testing the waters or seeing. Yeah, I think he would use some like real highfalutin kind of
A Go analogy.
something. Yeah,
Place my piece in between the
You do some
dangerous
shit like
territory of the board when
Yeah.
you play Go.
he says, and he'll say, among those who I can trust, I'll listen for any information I can find. I can't think of a good analogy here at all. Any that I have, I don't think he would use that analogy because in this culture it wouldn't be good. So he'll basically say, I'll listen for it and I'll kind of try to figure out what's up.
Right, it's good and all. I was expecting, what I really wanted was your help in resolving a debt I have. I know you're a rich merchant,
Thinking that might come up.
I should have known.
How much do you owe the sheriff?
and I owe Yoko Osako.
5 wealth still. Unless you've been paying her since then. Have you just been paying her?
Yeah, I guess.
So you've just paid her the money each time. Then we've gone through at least 5 games, so you don't owe her any more money.
Oh my god.
Okay.
What?
All right.
So if because you haven't at any point used wealth on anything,
That's
but
true.
you still owe a lot of merchants
That is true.
money.
All right. Let's fix that then, because I need to restore my.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
I think you're just consolidating your debt, actually.
Yeah, this is debt consolidation.
That's
That's
really what's
Sukamora's.
happening.
Debt consolidation with Doji Sukamura,
Yeah, I asked him to.
subsidiary of Chase Bank.
He's a popular merchant, right?
Yeah.
And I
Well, he's the yes, because he's a samurai, so he's not actually a merchant. But yeah.
Oh, well, I asked him for his help in that matter then. In courtesy of the dragon.
I think this is going to require almost a face roll, just because like you have to come to this dude asking him for money, and that's kind of a very gauche thing to do in this society.
Yes. Take it to the face.
You rolled a 6.
I have 3 face.
All right, so 9.
Like,
Is it face he's suffering now, or the track?
You suffer face. Roll plus face suffered.
yep.
So I
So
imagine it's the stuff on the track because it's.
Yeah, it is.
if I was dueling,
Well, no, it's the amount of face you suffer now. So if this is like a huge thing for him to do, it's like, oh my god, this is like, what is he doing?
So he rolled. You rolled a
6
6.
plus 3.
Do we add the plus 3 he already had to it?
I think you.
No, you add whatever he's suffering
It's,
right
it's
now.
like that harm move, you know?
It's the same as harm.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
just social harm.
So he's theoretically taking an amount of face now.
I
Okay.
think he's taking 1 face now.
Sure.
or
Let's say that's 1 then. So then that is 7.
If only I was Kakita dueling rank 2. I could subtract my bold value.
That's you're putting your points in. Not that. That's so good. We've never used face now.
All right.
Yeah, I was.
Gotcha. So you can kind of sense that it's a gauche topic
Yeah.
that you kind of come up to there, and yeah. But he says,
Like, you were shunned for a week or so.
yeah, there's too many things that are kind of like they seem like they take you out of the story.
Well, shunning him doesn't necessarily
Take him out of the
takes him
story, but from
It
within
just
one
means-
group, they're not talking to him or something
Well,
like
it
that.
doesn't even. It could be like if he goes for information, they
They just
belittle
don't
him and
wanna
step
talk
up
to
to him. It's a lot harder for him to get any information out of a group of people like this family, whoever this group is, his people.
So, do you want his help? Okay, so you want his help finding the journal and his help paying your debts.
Mainly I wanted the debt thing. The journal thing you brought up, really. Because I said I need your help. Oh, I did mention the journal, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned the journal. That's you. You
Oh,
mentioned
yeah,
the
yeah.
journal.
I kinda-
What do you care about more, the journal or debt consolidation?
But did we have you do a manipulate roll on the journal? I forgot.
No.
No.
He was just like, yeah, no.
Yeah. So this guy definitely says that he'll help you with that. Why don't you go ahead and make a manipulate roll on that?
That is 1 XP.
All right. So you got a 3.
Plus a 1.
3 plus a 1 is 4. All right. So yeah. So Doji Sugamura absolutely is like, oh, of course I'll keep an ear out for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Don't even worry.
Yeah. Exactly. So he'll just bring up that he would also want to make sure that there's no.
He told me he'd help, but
Yeah. He definitely tells you he'll help.
he didn't need to seduce or manipulate.
So, but yeah, and I think we kind of see that awkward conversation about the money, and it kind of getting awkward, and then we kind of cut things out in the middle of that conversation as you're like, well, actually, I need your help paying off these merchants. Ishi.
Yeah.
And Ishi
I'm gonna go
is
meet this guy. I'm gonna go try to get an audience with
Shinjo
Shinjo.
Sanafusa, the son?
Shanafusa, yep.
All right.
I'm gonna go talk to Shanafusa. I think he's the real guy who's probably doing the bad. I don't need to talk to the old man.
All right, so
Maybe I do. Maybe he's behind everything. You never know. But anyway.
So we see Ishi. We see the exterior of the Shinjo estate.
Yeah.
It's not the Ide estate, which is that huge minareted building that from the outside looks extremely foreign. This looks much more traditional, with maybe one or two prominent pieces of flair that set it apart.
Okay.
What might some of those things be? So it's stuff that wouldn't seem like traditional Japanese stuff. And if you want, I could throw out some cultures that maybe might have influenced them.
Yeah, what are they influenced by? Like the melodies?
So some stuff that they encounter is like Mongolian-esque stuff. And then even as far as like Arabian type stuff.
So I guess that's how weird. I just have like images of bazaars in my head when I think of Arabia, but that's not real.
It's fantasy Arabia.
Yeah, I mean it's fancy Arabia, but like, I don't know. Can't translate that to some dude's house.
What if you want to go that direction, you could have something like like you have the traditional house, but the walkway that you go up to is like a series of almost like tents or canopies that you kind of go through that kind of feel a little bit like you were saying, like a bazaar. Yeah, and so like you kind of walk up to that, and that's a very unusual feature as opposed to walking through like an archway kind of a thing. Instead, you go down this, it's not super long, but this tent corridor essentially.
Yeah.
This open air pavilion tent corridor. And this is the winter. So you can see that servants have had to like get snow off of the tops of these tents. So it's very much out of place as well. If it's like something that you'd expect to see in Agrabah, and instead it's in Rokugan.
Yeah. Well, weird.
Okay.
Good to you.
All right. And you're met in the kind of traditional way. You're kept waiting for a while. And people come, servants will show up, and they'll serve you tea or sake, whatever you need. And one or two of the servants might even be Gaijin. They might be foreigners.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's romantic.
So there's folks who just very clearly aren't Rokugani. They're very clearly from somebody else. Like
none of us questioned this man about like my okay, moving on.
Sure didn't. Only
Aji, I guess, did. Think about anything we've done.
Again, you guys have a lot of these pieces of the puzzle. That's what I've been saying. Every time you're like, we haven't found a goddamn thing. It's like you found lots of stuff. You just haven't been piecing them together. After a while, this Gaijin servant will bring you whatever it is. And I don't know if you've encountered the foreigners before. And this is like a thing that outside of like this city.
And Naja doesn't have any foreigners working for him, right?
I don't think you encountered them when you were there.
These must be Shadowlands people.
Yeah.
Kill them.
You there.
I was trying to be demons.
But so you are eventually brought in to kind of a meeting room, and Sanafusa is there. And did you ask to specifically meet with him?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so specifically meet with Mr. Sanafusa.
All right, and he's there, and he's like, he'll sit down, and again, you'll be brought some tea or some sake, and they'll say, and Sanafusa will say, oh, Ishi-sama, it's wonderful to see you. It's excellent that you've graced our house with your presence.
No, I'm glad I was finally able to visit. You know, it's a very busy city, and I have not quite found the time to meet with every important man who inhabits it.
He says, well, we are my father is the Hatamoto of the Unicorn Clan, but on the other hand, I understand that you have a lot of pressing business, and I don't want to distract you from your duties in any capacity. But it's certainly good to see you here now.
Sadly, this is also the meeting of business. I wanted to ask you about. I heard that the House of Foreign Stories closed down.
Yes, it was unfortunate to say the least. 2 different tragedies within such a short period of time are trying at even the best of times. Of course, this is a city where things move much more quickly than out in the country. So perhaps it makes sense.
That is for sure. I heard of a woman by the name of Magda, I think it was.
Yes.
She was the proprietor, no?
Yes, a vassal of mine. And I think we hear footsteps kind of coming along.
Okay.
And they're kind of moving pretty slowly. And so you don't hear till they arrive. You don't hear the footsteps till they're pretty close, and maybe like a door slides open. And yeah, Shinjo Yoshifusa, Sanafusa's father, comes in. He's very old. He still comes in. He's well past the age of usual retirement, especially among Bushi. Mm-hmm. And he has kind of a gray goatee on his chin, and he has that hair that has at this point is maybe like a comb. It's like a comb over kind of thing that he attempts.
It literally looks like he's rotting in the book.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm melting.
Real life zombie. Yeah. Look at this zombie person.
Yeah, but so he
Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
He kind of his hair. He's almost attempted to take some of the hair of his from the back and kind of pull it into a top knot, but it hasn't worked. It's too thin, and it doesn't seem to be a thing he necessarily a way he necessarily wears it all the time. And so as he comes in, it's just like when a person has a comb over and the wind blows. He comes in. Yoshifusa comes in and says, "Excellent." He says, "Excellent. I see, Ishi-san, Ishi-sama. I see you've met my son. Excellent. I'm glad that you've arrived to meet."
Oh yes, it is. There's been a long time coming. I'm so glad to have met you and your son, sir.
We had forgotten you were here for 7 months.
So, well, and he'll slowly kind of sit down, and again, he's very old. He kind of he's not ancient as that picture kind of depicts him as, but he's definitely a man
this man looks
either
like he's in the grave.
Yeah,
That's what this picture
but he's definitely a man in his late 60s or 70s.
Okay, so not nearly
so
as bad as this picture says.
Yeah, but so he kind of bends himself down to sit down and speak with each of you, and he does so in a place right next to his son, directly next to his son, and his son kind of scoots down a bit, and he says, "Well, as I said, I'm very glad that you came here to visit us. It's been an early winter, and we can always appreciate company. It's always good to have someone around. I was telling my son that we don't get nearly as many visitors as we used to in the past, and I think it's because of the cold. This winter's been coming earlier and earlier."
Oh, that's without a doubt. I've spent only a few months here, but it is so much colder. I live in the south.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's still plenty of
cold, but it's not
cold.
It's
Climate change is a hoax.
Yeah,
it's all getting colder.
but yeah. So he says that.
Well, I did say my thing. I did agree with him. He likes me more. But anyway, so where was I? I was talking about before this man walked in. Totally, he was Avery.
You were talking about Magda.
I was asking about Magda. This is true. I just brought up Magda, and then what did Sanafusa say?
He brought up that there had been incidents there, that there were two problems or two incidents that they ran into in a short period of time. But again, this is a busy, bustling city, so things move quicker.
Yeah. I'm sorry to have this only be a business meeting, but as you know, this is a quick city, and I must continue with my questions. I wanted to ask you, Sanafusa, do you know why Magda was? It's a worthless question. I was gonna ask him why. What was the issue with Magda? Why did Magda? What happened to Magda? I know all these answers. I'm just trying to get him to talk about Magda more. So I bring up something about I heard that she just disappeared, right?
Right, and he'll say something like that. He'll say well, one day she just disappeared. People had told me that she was there one day and gone the next, and that's not something that I thought was likely to happen given who she was and where she was from. But then. Magda sees so many people, and
this is true.
And I think Yoshifusa speaks up on that and says, says, someone obviously stole her.
That is...
Kidnapped the woman.
That could be a thing. She didn't happen to leave anything behind. I knew that she's known many, many influential people in the city. She didn't happen to, leave behind any valuables when she left. She just took everything and disappeared. I would expect if there was a kidnapping that all of her things would be left behind.
And Sanafusa again goes to speak up, and he says, well, from what we understand, some money and some valuables were gone, but not very much. And Yoshifusa again will say, she was kidnapped. If she was just robbed, they would have. If she was robbed, they would have taken everything there.
I want to read one of them.
Go for it.
I guess the old man.
You want to read the old man? Go for it.
This is why I wanted to divide and conquer this and had to deal with this.
All right, you rolled a 7 plus 3, right?
Only plus 10.
Oh, okay. All right, so 9.
Yeah.
So you're reading the old man, Yoshifusa,
I'm reading the old man.
who is entitled the Hatamoto of the Unicorn Clan. So the person who speaks with the authority of the Unicorn Clan in the city.
Yeah. I wanted to ask him. Can I hold this question for later?
Yeah. With read a person you can. With read a situation you're supposed to technically. I listened to one of our recordings from before, and we definitely didn't follow that rule. But
I hold that shit real hard. Cause
go for it.
There's a lot of questions to ask here. I'll probably have to roll again later.
Yeah.
But so she's maybe kidnapped. What was the second thing that happened to the House of Foreign Stories that caused it to close down? I really don't know anything.
And again, the old man Yoshifusa will say, somebody came in and killed a replacement. Somebody's targeting us. A samurai came in and throttled the woman.
Do we know?
Aji knew it.
Who did that?
Remember
Who's told you?
Okasan, the aunt or mother?
Yeah.
Okasan or Okasan?
I told you about the second time.
He described it as a raid.
You
That's how he described
I
it.
didn't know,
Raid? I meant raid. Sorry.
Oh.
It was like a raid, raid.
Raid.
Topical.
Who could have done such a thing? Does anybody have anything against your family? They would want to harm your business and your merchants in such a way? Or was it just a random act of cruelty in this cruel city?
And Sanafusa says, we told Aji about it. We weren't sure. And I think Yoshifusa interrupts and says, it's the same person who kidnapped Magda. It's the Bayushis. The Scorpion are corrupt, watching out for each other, hiding their tails. And he's like, and yet everybody else gets stung. Anybody who has the he says the equivalent of gumption. I'm trying to think of a non-silly word. Anyone who has the mettle and the tenacity to succeed in their city.
Yeah, they are certainly duplicitous people. I actually wanted to ask you about...
They're in it together. Those Scorpion.
Yeah, clans, that's how that works. I don't say that. I'm just dropping underneath this man. Actually, that brings me to another thing I wanted to ask about. You were the patron of the merchant horse, correct? Before she was poached by the Bayushi family.
Sanafusa starts to nod, and Yoshifusa says, "Yes, that little churl horse used to work for my son."
What does his character intend to do about Bayushi?
What does Yoshifusa intend to do?
Yes.
Complain real loud.
Literally.
God damn it.
Just complain.
I'm gonna have to roll repris on this other boy.
He doesn't intend to do anything. This guy is...
I thought he was a gold miner with arrangement.
He's just he's pissed about it.
But he's real.
He'll write letters, but like that kind of thing to people. But you think to yourself, if I got a letter from this guy, it probably wouldn't be a letter. It would probably be a bunch of letters, and I'd probably ignore them.
Cool. Yeah, I'm gonna have to read the sum now, because I guess my character's now realized this is just a cranky old man, and I think he matters in the scheme of things.
Right. He's a cranky old man, but you do know, like I said, he is the Hatamoto of the year.
No, yeah. He's the leader, but I mean, I don't think he's the mastermind behind any plans in the city. Oh,
we got a 5 plus
really want to
what?
get like a 12.
Oh, but 2. So 7.
It's a 7. I really want to get like a 12.
That would be good.
Because
That would be good.
it would answer all the questions, like where's my journal? Anyway. So what does this man intend to do, though, to beat Bayushi's? What is Senefu's at?
I'll answer it this way. Nothing else.
City of Lies is Toan as Kakita Aji, Branden as Hida Ishi, David as Bayushi Taiyo, Andrew as Agasha Yugare, and Austin as your game master. The theme music for City of Lies is Mission of Danger by Lobo Loco.
Additional music for this episode includes Tend to It by Osiris Saline and Winter is Coming Adagio by Dan Yan Key. Our intro was read by Scott.
This American Dice Ryoko Owari City of Lies uses the City of Lies box set by Greg Stolz, published by Alderac Entertainment Group. The mechanics used is a modified PBTA system by Brendan Taylor of Galileo Games. Join us next time for more This American Dice.
What?
Their lips are so kissable.
Yeah, their lips are kissable soft because they've been using lip smackers. Brought to you by Lip Smackers. Smack those lips.